Hello everyone, I am Francesco and these are my favorite albums of 2025 so far. There are a lot of albums that just fade into the background. And then there are albums that demand your attention and refuse to let go. Mac Miller's Balloonerism is one of these albums. This album made me feel happy and sad, both at the same time. Mac Miller was one of the most influential rappers of his generation, coming up along artists like Kendrick Lamar, Big Crit, Wiz Khalifa, YG, and Lil B. There is something eerie listening to this album now, knowing that it was recorded in 2014. It's like a snapshot of an artist in his prime, unaware of the tragedy that lay ahead. The moment this album starts, you can feel it. It's heavy. Not in an aggressive way, but emotionally. It's almost impossible to separate Mac's music from his legacy, and it makes listening to Balloonerism an intense experience. What immediately caught my attention is the piano-driven production on this album. You have these gut-wrenching keys that create this melancholic and dreamlike atmosphere throughout this album. After listening to this album the first time, themes of escapism and self-medication became evident to me, where we have tracks like Deborah, Stoned, and Shangri-La that don't hold back on the struggles that Mac Miller was going through at the time. There's a haunting clarity in the lyrics of this album. Mac Miller is speaking from his heart, and somehow it feels incredibly relevant today. This is not an easy listen, especially if you're a long-time Mac Miller fan. Let's talk about the sound and overall feel of this album. And one thing I realized at the beginning was this hunting bass on almost every track. And when I looked at the credits, I saw that there was Thundercat involved in the production. So Thundercat's presence is really felt on this project. Not only does he provide signature bass work, but he's also heavily involved in the overall production of this record, giving this album a jazzy, psychedelic, free-flowing type of feel. Track 2 on this album is really interesting because you only hear Mac Miller at the end with some ad-libs, and throughout the song you have a feature of the splendid voice of SZA. It's a really beautiful song that I think is a great opener for this album. Now, while the album really feels cohesive and round, there are some standout tracks that really blew me away. So you have track 3, Do You Have a Destination, which is a dreamy, surreal type of track that is really hypnotic and I really enjoyed listening to. Then you have track number 4, $5 Pony Ride, which really reminded me of a song by Mos Def or Yazin Bey called Umi Says that you probably know. Then on track 9 you have Funny Papers, which is really a great storytelling song where he weaves together 3 different narratives from the perspective of different people at different stages in their life. And the writing is just phenomenal, so please listen to the song and tell me what you think about it. Track number 10, Excelsior, feels like a reflection on growing up. Then you have track 12, Mannequins, where Mac Miller talks about the fight against conforming to normalcy, which is one of the standout tracks when it comes to lyricism on this album. The interesting aspect about this album is that it was recorded in 2014, as I mentioned before, and that it doesn't sound dated, nor on the lyric side, nor on the production side. Now this speaks to Mac Miller's talent and ambition. Again, really sad to think about this generational talent, Mac Miller, but also we can feel happy about this new project and that we get to listen to new music by this really talented artist. Mac Miller, Balloonerism, one of my favorite albums so far. What if I told you that one of the best rap albums of 2025 comes from a surprising collab that no one expected? Larry June, 2 Chainz over Alchemist Productions. I know, sounds wild, right? But somehow it works. Now let me tell you why. So let's get one thing straight. Alchemist's production and output the last couple of years has just been insane. He's constantly dropping quality music, and I've just listened to a snippet of his production on an Erykah Badu song. I'm really looking forward to this project as well this year, if it comes out. Life is Beautiful is proof that he is still on top of his game. This is his second full-length project with the rapper Larry June, following The Great Escape, which was one of my most listened to albums of 2023. But this time they brought in 2 Chainz, which is a move that I didn't see coming. And honestly, I think we need more unexpected collaborations in rap. What do you think? First, we gotta talk about Uncle Al's production on this project. As expected, it's built on these jazzy, soulful samples that just feel timeless. But what makes this album special is how minimal this time Alchemist keeps his production. The beats are stripped back, giving all the space to the two rappers, Larry June and Chainz, to shine. Now if we're talking highlights on this album, Bad Choice is a standout track for me. And Bad Choice has to be one of the best beats so far this year. The vocal sample, the way the sample is chopped over these boom bap drums. Larry June does what Larry June does best. Laid back, unbothered, sticking to his smooth conversational flow. He's not here for super technical raps, and that's fine because he fits the production perfectly. But I will say, this slow flow gets repetitive at times. That's where Chainz comes in. He brings energy, variety, and personality. I honestly think that this is the best Chainz I've ever heard. The album is heavy on themes of materialism, money, and this mafioso, smooth crime lifestyle. You don't come here for conscious, deep introspection. Some of my favorite tracks on this project are Moonion Cannon, sets the vibe perfectly on this album. I Been is also just vibey as hell, smooth track, enjoy listening to it. Bad Choices, as I said before, that sample, just magnificent. LLC, also a really smooth track where both rappers shine perfectly. And you have the title track, Life is Beautiful. The beat, and you have Larry June singing. It's really a perfect moment on this album. Life is Beautiful by Larry June, Chainz, produced by Alchemist, is a very, very short album. It's only 37 minutes long. I think it could have benefited from 1 or 2 more features to bring some variety into the songs. But overall, favorite rap project so far in 2025 and might be a contender for best rap album of 2025. We will see. Some artists are impossible to box in. They break every rule, jump between genres, and leave you wondering, what the hell have you been listening to? But in the best way possible. Pink Siifu is one of these artists. Pink Siifu has never been an artist you can put a label on. Across his past releases, he has played with southern rap, lo-fi, jazz, punk, hip-hop, and with every album he reinvents himself. Black Antique, his last album, is no exception. This album is a trip. From the very start, you're hit with distorted guitars, heavy synths, and sound effects, before suddenly being dropped into a kind of Missy Elliott, Timbaland kind of beat that just makes you move. It's disorienting, it's unpredictable, and that's exactly what makes it so special. When it comes to the sound and production of this album, it feels like you are listening to 2 different albums, that you have in a way a side A and a side B to this album. On this side A, you have, for the first 8 or 9 tracks, a more distorted, experimental, lo-fi, highly experimental sound. You have unpredictable textures, you have beat switches. Pink Siifu tries to push boundaries sonically here. Now side B is different. Side B is a little bit more laid back. You can hear it in the beats that are a little bit smoother and more R&B infused, but it still has this Pink Siifu edge that we know from his music. Side B lets you breathe a little. One thing that ties both sides together is the cinematic feel you get when you're listening to this album. So this is not just a collection of some songs, it's an immersive world. From lo-fi distortion to voice effects and an eerie textured sound, the production is really outstanding. So when I think of Pink Siifu, I'm reminded of certain artists that I think have influenced him. I have to think about Outkast and Dungeon Family when it comes to the sound, the southern funk, this futuristic type of feeling also in the aesthetic. Then there's Death Grips, where you have this raw energy, a more punk-like approach to hip-hop. And then you have the jazz side of things, where I think that Pink Siifu probably has been inspired by artists like Sun Ra or other spiritual or free jazz artists. And you can hear this in this cosmic, otherworldly-like feeling when you listen to his music and his project, and especially this last project. Now, when it comes to Pink Siifu, one thing that stands out in this album is his voice. His voice is another instrument that he uses effectively on this project. It's raspy, and sometimes he's more talking than rapping or singing on this project. One thing that is interesting is that he always commands your attention. Now, when it comes to this album, I have quite a few standout tracks that really blew me away. You have 121, which reminded me of the song Thug Love by Bone Thugs-N-Harmony featuring Tupac. This song is Thug Love, but on steroids. Then you have the song Screw for Life, R.I.P. Jalen. This is probably my favorite track so far. You have this moment on this track where the drums kick in and it just sounds perfect. What is the concept of the song? You have DJ Screw, southern DJ legend, known for his chopped and screw sound. There's also a really interesting podcast series that I'm going to link below, that if you're interested in DJ Screw and his life and his legacy, you really have to check out. Now, this is one of my favorite tracks because it's really deep, it's personal, it's also interesting, the concept here, because he's paying tribute to DJ Screw. We have songs like Translation or Outside featuring Monty Booker, which are more vibey, more laid back, more chilled songs. Now again, when I say you can vibe to and they're chilled songs, you can still hear the experimental edge of Pink Siifu in these tracks. Then you have Sleep at the Wheel, which is a really disorienting, dizzy feeling song, but it's a journey. It's really a journey to listen to the song. And the perfect closer, Last One Alive. This song feels like the album is slowly collapsing. The album Black Antique is impressive, and I'm going to listen to this album for quite some time. I've listened to this album when it came out 3 or 4 times in a row because I was really fascinated by it. Does it have the potential to make it on my favorite albums of 2025 list? I think it does, but we will see how things end up at the end of the year. The more I listen to this project, the more I appreciate it, the more I appreciate also this experimental vision, this experimental style that Pink Siifu brings to the table. This is one of the most listened to albums for me so far. Take a listen to the album and let me know what you think. Smif-N-Wessun, Legends of the Game, are back with Infinity, the 7th full-length album, fully produced by Ninth Wonder and the Soul Council. For me, this one hits different. Back when I was 17 or 18, I had this Duck Down Records phase, where all I listened to was their catalog. So seeing Smif-N-Wessun dropping an album in 2025 is really a moment for me, so let's see what they have produced. So let's talk about it. Smif-N-Wessun, part of Bootcamp Click and Duck Down Records, have been dropping classics since 1995, The Shinin'. Nearly 30 years later, they're still spitting bars with the same raw energy, proving their longevity in the game. And when you pair them with Ninth Wonder and the Soul Council, you get soulful, hard-hitting beats, with the signature warmth and depth. We also have some legendary features on this project like Pharoah Monch, Prodigy, rest in peace, Sean Price, rest in peace as well, Conway the Machine, Buckshot, and Maverick Sabre. This project is all about longevity, family, and bars. A grown man hip-hop album that still feels fresh. But let's take a look at some of the standout tracks on this album. Track number 1, Infinity, sets the tone perfectly. A declaration of longevity, backed by a dope, soulful beat. Track number 2, Moses Promise. Crisis laces this one with a perfect, soulful instrumentation, and is one of the smoothest tracks on this album. Track number 4, Medina featuring Pharoah Monch, bars on this track. Pharoah Monch absolutely kills his verse, and that vocal sample in the background is crazy. Track number 5, Black Eminence featuring Prodigy. The laid-back flow plus Prodigy's unmistakable voice over a soulful sample makes this one a standout. Hearing Prodigy in 2025 is really surreal. Track number 8, Enjoy Life. Now this is a classic Ninth Wonder production, soulful sample, warm bass, and those signature drums. Lyrically, this one brings a positive, uplifting message, a rare vibe in gritty hip-hop albums like this. Track number 10, Just Stay featuring Conway the Machine. This one might be the best track lyrically. Conway delivers, and Crisis production keeps it both soulful and raw. Track number 11 is my personal favorite on this project, On My Soul. This is the dopest beat on the project. Soulful keys, chopped up vocal samples, and a tight snare. Also really cool to hear Buckshot again. Then we got track number 12, Heard About Me featuring Sean Price and Maverick Sabre. Maverick Sabre's vocals really shine here, but the biggest moment, an unreleased Sean Price verse. Hearing P again really puts a smile on my face. Alright, so Smif-N-Wessun, Infinity. This album isn't about chasing trends. It's about sticking to what works best and doing it at the highest level. Ninth Wonder and the Soul Council beat-wise really shine here on this project, and Smif-N-Wessun really proved that they haven't lost a step. The features are also meaningful and fit perfectly to the album. If you love grown man hip-hop with depth, bars, and soulful beats, Infinity is an album for you. So Smif-N-Wessun, Infinity, one of my favorite albums of 2025 so far. Now, some artists don't just make music, they make you listen. Brother Ali has always been one of these voices, and Satisfied Soul is no exception. This album, like every other Brother Ali album, is like catching up with an old friend, full of wisdom, honesty, and straight up bars. And with production entirely handled by Ant from Atmosphere, we've got a blues-soaked, soulful hip-hop journey ahead, so let's get into it. I had the chance to see Brother Ali live once in Switzerland, and let me tell you, his breath control, stage presence, and overall feel on stage is something that you have to experience firsthand. He commands attention not only with his presence but also with the weight of his words. Satisfied Soul kicks off with a Yasin Bey intro, which immediately sets the tone. You already know this is going to be a meaningful listen. There are no features on this album, so it's just Brother Ali spitting bars over Ant's beats. And Ant, he laces the album with blues-heavy soul samples that fit perfectly to Brother Ali's voice and delivery. Brother Ali's music is always deeply rooted in his personal life. He touches on several topics like faith and spirituality, community and togetherness, the struggles of the working class life, the importance of family and resilience. The way he weaves these topics into his album without sounding preachy is what makes this project really compelling. There are a lot of standout tracks on this album, and I've been listening to this album for quite some time now, and I must say I really enjoy this project. First we have the song Deep Cuts, where you can hear a choir in the background of the instrumental. You have a really interesting and deep bass, so this track sounds like a combination of both a battle rap and a prayer. Then you have the track DRUM. This one is a celebratory track where you have a lot of references to soul music in general and the history of soul music, and it's all about music as this unifying force. Another track is called The Counts. This is a straight up tribute to hip hop. The sample is really fire and Ali's pen sharp as ever. Then we get to the more introspective parts and moments on this album with a track like Cast Aside. The beat is really chill, but the lyrics really hit deep. But this is a song that reflects the feeling of being isolated and rejected. Another song that goes along the same lines is the song Under the Stars. Now this is a heartbreaking song about homelessness and one of the rawest moments on this album. Better But Us is also a really honest track where he dives into the working class struggles, not being able to afford certain things, but finding joy and purpose anyway. This is the theme of this song, and I think it's a really honest and beautiful track. Then we get to Name of the One. Here we have an insane beat and a powerful delivery by Brother Ali. This song is way too short. It's one of the shortest songs on this album. Then we get to Mysterious Things, a song that really lets you reflect on life and purpose. My favorite track on the album is called Handwriting, where we have beautiful writing by Brother Ali and an absolutely stunning instrumental. And the message of the song really sticks to you, so I recommend, without me just telling you how awesome this is, just listen to the song Handwriting by Brother Ali. So Brother Ali, Satisfied Soul. Brother Ali has always been an artist with a purpose, and Satisfied Soul is another reminder why his voice is really important. You have no gimmicks, no fillers, just bars, honesty, and really a soulful production. So Brother Ali, Satisfied Soul, also one of my favorite albums of 2025 so far. Every year there's this one jazz album that completely pulls me in. The one that stays on repeat from the moment I hear it. And for 2025 so far, the album is Oliver by Kevin Oliver Jr. It's warm, it's personal, and honestly, more people need to hear from this project. Kevin Oliver Jr. might be new to a lot of people, but trust me, he won't stay under the radar for long. He's a young saxophonist currently leading his band, the Kevin Oliver Jr. Group. And Oliver, his debut album, proves that he's already operating at an insane high level. What makes this album special? It's the range. You have harmonic and soulful arrangements, upbeat, high energy, bebop moments, gospel-inspired tracks that feel spiritual. It's rare to find a jazz project that moves through different emotions and styles so effortlessly. However, this album still feels cohesive. And the best part, it feels joyful. Even in the most introspective parts or moments on this album, Oliver carries this warmth and personality that makes it so easy to connect with. Obviously, Kevin Oliver's saxophone performance is the star on this project, and he doesn't disappoint. His playing is playful, expressive, and completely unpredictable. He jumps into wild solos, then dials it back into smooth, flowing melodies. But I also have to shout out the piano on this album. There are moments when it's soft and introspective, and then suddenly it comes alive, shaping the entire energy of a track. And speaking of energy, let's talk about the standout tracks on Oliver. First you have Gambino. This track is cinematic. It feels like it belongs in a mafia movie soundtrack. Or it could be Jay-Z's entrance music if he were a wrestler or something. The hip-hop influence here is undeniable. I could easily imagine Ghostface Killah rapping a verse on this beat. And if Kevin Oliver is listening, I might be sampling the end of this record and make a beat. We'll see. Then we have Mom and Painting. These tracks lean into a slower, meditative rhythm, with drums that almost just feel like a whisper in the background. Then we have my favorite track on this album, How Is It So? Now this one drove me crazy, because I couldn't shake the feeling that I had heard something like this before. Then it hit me. It reminded me heavily of Patrick Page's song Voodoo. The piano part feels either like a direct influence or a nod to it. And then there's this one moment in the song where I am reminded of D'Angelo, or a neo-soul type of feeling that the song has. The neo-soul vibe is really tangible on this song because it has this Dilla-esque drum type of feel, where the drums are a little bit slightly dragging behind. Now, it blows my mind that this project doesn't have more listens and more plays on Spotify, so please do me a favor, go over to Spotify, listen to the album, let me know in the comments what you think about this project. Bad Bunny just dropped an album that is more than just music. It's a history lesson. It's a tribute to Puerto Rican music and a reminder to cherish every moment in life. Debí Tirar Más Fotos blends the old with the new, creating one of his most important and musically rich projects to date. Bad Bunny has always been a step ahead, not only in reggaeton, but in redefining Latin music as a whole. This time, he's paying homage to Puerto Rican's musical heritage, blending genres like plena, salsa, and dembow into something that feels both nostalgic and futuristic. To really appreciate this album, you need to understand what dembow is. Dembow originated from Jamaican dancehall, later evolving in the Dominican Republic and especially in Puerto Rico. It's the foundation of reggaeton, shaping its signature rhythm and style. But Bad Bunny doesn't just use dembow here, he reinterprets it, blending it with Puerto Rico's past sounds like salsa and plena to create something entirely new. In the past, I thought of Bad Bunny as just another pop artist. But this album isn't just about making people dance. It's about preserving tradition while pushing Latin music forward. And you get this feeling right from the start. Listening to the first track, Nueva Yol, this song forces you to move. It's the perfect fusion of salsa and dembow, mixing old school Latin vibes with modern club energy. And the way Bad Bunny blends the past and the present here is just masterful. Then we jump right into track 2, Baile Inolvidable. Those horns are just unreal, and the piano that comes in later is also majestic. Absolutely beautiful, and this track is just Latin elegance. Another one of my favorite tracks is track number 5, Vueltita. This is the definition of feel-good music, and I could listen to the song the whole day. Track number 9, Boquete. Here is where Benito's singing really shines on this track. He's been refining his vocal performances over the years, and you can really hear his evolution on track like Boquete. Another track that highlights his vocal performance is track number 11, Turistas, where he blends his smooth delivery with a rhythmic bounce. My favorite track on the album is track number 12, Café con Ron. Now, this track taps into plena, one of Puerto Rico's most important folk traditions. Plena is often called singing newspaper because of its role in storytelling and social commentary. Benito uses it here to reflect on Puerto Rico's struggles and identity. The same struggles are also highlighted in track number 14, Lo que pasó en Hawaii. This track is about fighting for Puerto Rico's traditions and is a reminder that this culture needs to be preserved and celebrated. Track number 16, DtMF, or Debí Tirar Más Fotos, is one of the most emotional tracks on this album. Not just because of its lyrics, but because of what people have started doing online. Fans have been taking photos and videos with their grandparents and family members, inspired by the song's message. Take more photos with the people you love before it's too late. With Debí Tirar Más Fotos, Bad Bunny isn't just making music, he's making a statement, blending the music of the past with the present, and most importantly, telling us to appreciate the present, to take those photos, and to hold on to your traditions and celebrate them. This is one of his most ambitious, and for me also my favorite Bad Bunny album so far. Westside Gunn doesn't just make albums, he curates experiences. 12 is another addition to his high art, grimy street rap catalog, packed with raw storytelling, insane production, and wrestling references that, let's be honest, I don't get. But that doesn't take away from how dope this project is. Listening to this album, you get asked philosophically relevant questions like, have you ever cooked a half brick in the air fryer? I have not, no. So let's break it down why this is a dope album. Westside Gunn has perfected his luxury meets gutter style of aesthetic. On 12, he delivers grimy street bars over high art production, blending old school boom bap with jazzy loops and stripped back cinematic beats. There are so many standout tracks on this album. I could have just shown you the track list and every track here is amazing. But nevertheless, let's take a look at some of the standouts for me. Track number 2, Boswell. It's high energy, bar heavy, and Stove God Cooks absolutely delivers on his verse. Adam Page, track 3. This is a highlight beat-wise for me. The way the vocal sample runs through the beat is really hypnotic. Track number 3, Adam Page. If you love boom bap, this song is for you. The drums hit hard, it's just this classic Griselda sound. Track number 5, 055. This is the highlight for me when it comes to production. The way the vocal sample runs through the beat is just hypnotic. Track number 6, Goombo Yaya. Brother Tom Sauce steals the show here. Also, we got a De La Soul reference, which is just fire, and the jazz influence on this beat really shines. Track number 8, Bury Me With a Stove. When it comes to the production on this track, we have no drums, but a guitar-driven beat that really reminds us of this Western kind of cinematic soundscape. Track number 9, Outlander. This is another signature Gunn performance. Luxury talk, high art imagery, and grime. Track number 12, Dump World, which is produced by Conductor Williams and is also another highlight production-wise. The hook is also catchy and the beat is just hypnotic. It's the perfect closing track to this album. Westside Gunn knows exactly what his audience wants, and 12 delivers it perfectly. We've got cinematic beats, raw bars, and unique production choices. This album might not reinvent the wheel, but it doesn't have to, because Westside Gunn's lane is already one of the most distinct in hip-hop today. Westside Gunn, 12, also one of my most listened to albums so far in 2025. Fame isn't always what it seems. On Goyard Ibn Said, Ghais Guevara crafts a complex, layered album that explores what happens when an artist reaches success, only to find themselves more distant than ever. It's raw, introspective, and packed with some of the most insane lyricism I've heard this year. So let's break it down. Ghais Guevara is an underground rapper and producer, known for his politically charged lyrics, fast-paced delivery, and intricate production style. He blends elements of boom bap, jazz rap, punk energy, and radical leftist themes, making his music stand out, not just for its sounds, but for its intellectual depth. On Goyard Ibn Said, he takes a different approach, stepping into the persona of Goyard, a rapper who goes through the rise and fall of fame. It's a deeply personal album that dives into themes of ego, distance, and the struggle of success. The album is structured in 2 acts, each showing a different stage of Goyard's journey. We have Act 1, the ascent, and Act 2, the reflection. In Act 1, Goyard is becoming a rapper, experiencing the highs of fame while slowly distancing himself from friends, his city, and family. In Act 2, we see the real thesis of this album. No matter how much success, luxury, or fame Goyard achieves, tragedy and impermanence are inevitable. This act is more honest, raw, and self-aware, showing the consequences of ego and fame. The shift between those acts make this album feel almost like a film, where we watch the character rise, only to see the weight of success bring them crashing down. There are several standout tracks on the album, like track number 2, The Old Guard Is Dead, a powerful statement early in the album, setting up the theme of new versus old, independence versus tradition. Track number 3 is a lyrical insanity, and it is called Leprosy. Ghais flexes here his best ego-driven bars, balancing technical prowess with self-exploration. Track number 6, Monta Ellis. This is a high-energy, storytelling-driven song that continues this theme of rising ambition. Track number 8, Camera Shy, is one of the most infectious beats on this album, with a fast-moving, rolling vocal sample that makes it impossible to ignore. Track number 12, The Apple That Scarcely Fell. We have no drums, just orchestral strings and heavy emotional rhymes. This is a complete departure from previous tracks, making it one of the most unique moments on the entire project. Track 13, Branded. This moment in the storyline is where Goyard's mask starts to slip. It is honest, vulnerable, and Goyard reflects on what this rise to fame really cost him. Guevara isn't just rapping, he's crafting a layered conceptual narrative. Goyard Ibn Said is a statement on the cost of fame, told through one of the most intricate and interesting lyricism of the year. It's an album that demands multiple listens, because with each playthrough you pick up more of these lines and of the narrative that is being told. This is one of the most compelling projects so far in 2025. Goyard Ibn Said by Ghais Guevara. Some albums just pull you in and don't let go. In the Blue Light by Kelela is one of those. Since it dropped, I haven't stopped listening to it. It's a hypnotic meditative experience. A live album that strips down her previous performances and makes it into something more intimate. And honestly, this might be a contender for my favorite album of 2025. Kelela has always blurred the lines between contemporary R&B, progressive electronic, and trip-hop. In the Blue Light takes her artistry to another level. This isn't a typical live album, it's a reinvention. Recorded at the Blue Note Jazz Club in New York, Kelela reimagined songs from her past releases, accompanied by harpist Aya Simone. And the result is a breathtaking mix of R&B, soul, blues, and jazz. Ethereal vocals over lush instrumentation, a meditative, calm vibe that still carries a lot of emotions. If in 2023 Raven introduced me to Kelela, this album has made me obsessed with her voice. And her voice is truly the star on this album. It is soft yet commanding, meditative yet emotionally charged. The way she flows over the harp, piano, and the bass gives every track a dreamlike quality, making this one of the most soothing albums I've heard this year. And you can hear this energy and also the soothing quality right from the start. Track 1, Enemy. This is the perfect opener. We have a calm harp, meditative vocals, which creates an enchanting atmosphere. We then go on with Raven on track 2, with haunting synths and the harp, which create an otherworldly soundscape, with a razor-sharp vocal performance by Kelela. And the bass drop is just incredible, so please listen to the song and wait for the bass drop. Track number 3, Take Me Apart, is also a highlight on this album. A slow jam that feels like a story that is being unfolded. And at the end of the song, Kelela tells the story of how she would secretly record live performances at the same club that she performs here, and would listen to these recordings over and over again. And how amazed she really is that now she is standing on the same stage. But track number 4, Bankhead, is also a highlight on this album. We have a neo-soul type of energy with sweeping vocals and a wonderful crescendo arrangement on this track. The piano and the bass are just stunning here. Track number 5, Waitin', is my favorite song on the album. It's a standout R&B jam where Kelela's vocal performance is just amazing. Track number 9, Blue Light, which is a track from her debut album, feels really emotional in this live performance version. The piano and the vulnerability in her voice really hit hard. Track number 10, Love Notes, a slow jam with heavy Erykah Badu vibes, I would say, airy vocals over a piano and an upright bass, plus incredible ad-libs at the end. Then we have the perfect closing track, Cherry Coffee, track number 12, where we have gorgeous backing vocals, the bass, the piano. It's really an amazing way to end this album. Now, lyrically, In the Blue Light explores different topics and themes. We have the topic of relationships and emotional distance, letting go of love and personal growth, but also sacrifice and acceptance. The stripped-down nature of this album makes every lyric feel even more intimate, like Kelela is directly speaking to you. With In the Blue Light, Kelela has really created something special. It is a masterclass in live performance, a reinvention of past work that in a way feels fresh and different. And this one is staying on repeat since it came out, and contender for Best Album of the Year so far. These were my favorite albums so far for 2025. Let me know in the comment section what you've been listening to this year, and maybe we can share some recommendations. Let me know. One more thing, I've also created a Spotify playlist that you can add to your favorites if you want. The link is in the description. All right, see you next time. Peace.